Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for today's session on Canvas Introduction. This is a session aimed at TAs and instructors to help get you started on the Canvas platform. My name is Samantha. I'm joined by my colleague Gus, and together we provide campus-wide support to instructors, TAs, and students on Canvas and its related tools. Today's session will start off by covering how to log into Canvas as well as general navigation, kind of getting you acquainted with what to expect when you log in. And then we'll jump into a Canvas course site and we'll talk about three primary functions within Canvas. We'll first talk about how you can use Canvas to add and edit content. So this is things like files, assignments, discussions, and quizzes. We'll talk about how you can use Canvas to grade student work and see and review those grades in a gradebook. And then we'll talk about how you can use Canvas to send communication, student emails. We'll wrap up today's session with where you can find additional help and support moving forward. So with that, we'll go ahead and jump in. The first thing is how to log into Canvas. You can log in at canvas.ucsb.edu. That's the web URL, canvas.ucsb.edu. Click that UCSB users button in the center of the screen. It'll take you to the familiar login screen and allow you to access your Canvas account. Give a moment for everyone. Take a moment. Again, canvas.ucsb.edu. Log in. And I'll pass it off to Gus, who will talk to you about what you can expect once you have gained access.
Alrighty. So once you log into Canvas, you'll be brought to what's called your dashboard in Canvas. It'll look something like this depending on how many courses you have access to. So this main area in the center here, all of these tiles, these are all different courses within your Canvas account. As an instructor or a TA, you'll notice a distinction between published courses and unpublished courses. This is just a distinction of what is visible to students. So when a course is first created in Canvas, it's going to be in this unpublished state, meaning that only TAs and instructors have access to it. This allows you to tinker, adjust due dates, add content, what have you. And then when you're ready, you can publish it and make it visible to students. Students can then go into the course, interact with it, what have you. I'll do a little more orientation on this dashboard page and highlight some of the student-facing features as well. On the right-hand side, you'll notice this to-do list and coming up. Again, depending on your role in Canvas, whether you're an instructor or a student or a TA, you're going to see different information displayed on these lists. So as an instructor in these to-do lists, I'm going to see, in this case, assignments that have submissions that need grades. So this grade for grade week 3 discussion, I have 4 submissions that need grades. In these other assignments, all have submissions that need grades. And then down here coming up, this lets me know of the upcoming due dates in my courses that I'm teaching. So just so I can be aware, this week 2 quiz, it's coming up on October 8th. That's an upcoming due date in my course. On the student side, they'll see to-do lists for upcoming due dates on their side, things that they have to do in their courses, things with due dates. And then under recent feedback, they would see any recent grades that they've been given in their Canvas courses. So that's that to-do coming up in recent feedback area over on the right side. What I'm going to touch on now is this blue menu on the left-hand side. This is what we call the global navigation menu. I'm not going to go to every kind of nook and cranny of these pieces, but kind of highlight the important things that we see, most users wanting information on. So the first one is this account settings. When you click on it, you're going to see a sub menu with a list of options. This first one, notifications, this is something just to be very aware of if you're ever getting, too frequent of notifications, or you want to be notified about something in particular, or just notifications for your Canvas account. you would adjust it here. By default, we attach your UCSB email address into your Canvas account. So that's where all these course notifications are going to be sent to. So if I want to, be notified when a due date changes immediately, I can click on this icon here and change this to notify immediately. I can do daily summary, so that just means once daily, or a weekly summary, or turn this notification off completely. So just be aware if you ever need to adjust kind of how often you're getting notifications, you can do this in that area. And you can also use this drop-down menu to do it for particular courses. If there's a certain course maybe you're getting too frequent of notifications about, you can adjust it on a course level as well. All right, the next piece I'll point out is profile. Some settings here. The big one is editing your profile picture. You can click this option to upload a picture. This shows up in a few places in Canvas, really helpful when you're using a discussion in your course. That little icon that you have for your picture will show up, where you participate in discussions. We also encourage students to upload their pictures as well. You can also edit your profile, add, a short biography, add any links to, research groups you're a part of if you have a departmental webpage, that kind of thing. The last setting I'll point out is in your account setting is this settings. This is just where we pull in basically everything that's in UCSB identity. So your name, your preferred name, all of that information is pulled in from UCSB's identity management system and will populate here into Canvas. So if you do need to adjust any of that name information, it'll be at im.ucsb.edu. This is UCSB's identity management system. You can go to manage identity, login, and adjust your profile. And all that updated name information will then come into Canvas. All right, so working our way down, we touched on dashboard. The next one down is courses. And you may be thinking, on your dashboard, you see a list of courses. What's maybe the point of this courses tab? But as you can imagine, after teaching for a number of quarters, you're going to have a lot of courses on your dashboard. And coming here and going to all courses is a way to kind of clean up or declutter your dashboard. You can come here and star or favorite particular courses. I've done that for 3 courses here, but I do have a further list, other courses that I have access to as a teacher, student, what have you. And so I can access those here, but they're not starred, meaning they're not going to show up on my dashboard. But if I ever need to get access to these, other list of courses, I can just click courses, all courses to see that full list. All right, the next piece in the global navigation is calendar. And this is, really helpful on the student side for them to be able to view a calendar kind of view of their course and the course due dates for their courses. So here we kind of have an example of a list of due dates associated with a course. If I click this week 2 quiz, I can see, which course it pertains to. I can click on this and it'll take me right to this week 2 quiz. And if I'm the student, I can take that quiz, what have you. On the right-hand side, this is all the list of calendars, which are actually just courses that my account has access to. So you can toggle these courses on and off to view them in the calendar. So again, really helpful for students, but also helpful as an instructor just to make sure your due dates are lining up where you expect them to in this calendar view. So moving down, the next one is inbox. I'm going to leave that one for Samantha when we touch on communication later on. And then below that is history. This is just a running list of kind of recently accessed pages in Canvas that my account has been to. Kind of helpful if you're jumping around Canvas and you need to get back to a page you were, on a few minutes ago. You can click this and get a full list. Below that, we've got the Canvas Commons. The Commons is an area in Canvas that anyone regardless of not just at UCSB, anyone who has access to Canvas at any university, K through 12, what have you, has access to this commons, and it's a way for instructors to share materials. So this ranges from individual pages to templated quizzes to whole templated courses. If you do come to the commons and are interested in some UCSB materials, if you search UCSB, there's a number of different materials that we've published and others at UCSB have published. We have, a 10-week deluxe template, which is really just kind of a template that has a lot of placeholder information and a structured kind of course that you can then edit, add to, and kind of make your own. So, if you're starting from a blank course and you're looking for kind of a framework, you can find a lot of pieces in the commons to kind of give you a foundation for your course to be built on. All right, below that is UCSB tools. I'm not a real instructor right now, so I'm not listed in the registrar as instructor of record for any courses. But if I was, I would come to this UCSB tools, I'd see this course site creator, and it would list any of the courses I'm an instructor for, and I would be able to click to create that course. So this is how you would create your course each coming quarter as the instructor. So your courses aren't created automatically. You come to this UCSB tools and then click on the create button for the course that you want to create a Canvas course for. Lastly, help. We're going to touch on that more at the end of today's session when we give you more resources on how you can get help from Canvas and from us. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard now. I'm going to go into our Canvas Basics sandbox today to kind of walk you through some more course navigation. We'll get into building content. If you're an instructor for a course, you should have a sandbox that automatically gets created for you. It'll either have your name in the title or it'll be like a date and time. That's when the sandbox is created. And these sandboxes are just for you, as an instructor, for you to kind of try out Canvas in an empty course. No one else is in it. You can kind of try different settings, build content, kind of familiarize yourself with the platform itself. So encourage you, if you're following along with today's tutorial, to use a sandbox. It'll help you kind of try out things as we cover them in today's training. So I'll go into our sandbox. And anytime you open a course, it'll be brought to what's called the course homepage. So previously we were talking about this blue global navigation menu. And now in a course, I have this course navigation menu also on the left-hand side. But this homepage, this is what you're going to be always brought to when you open a course. Now, this course is configured to use a page as its course homepage. So this page is one of our templated pages. I can click edit here. And, if I wanted to swap that picture out with maybe something that's more topical to my course, I could remove that. I could change this course title, specify when our course meetings are, edit any of these links. So really customizable, really a helpful kind of way to personalize your course as that homepage using that page configuration. There are some other homepage configuration options. If you click on the right in this list of options, this choose homepage option, this lists the various ways you can kind of designate and use the homepage. Again, I'm using the pages front page. So I've got a page that I've added all that content to. And another popular option for the homepage is just to go to the course modules. Samantha is going to get into what modules are and how they operate, but essentially course modules is where the course content lives within a Canvas course. So if I just want my course, once it's open, to go straight to the modules, I could set it to this for the homepage. I'll click save. And now when my homepage is just going to show all the course modules, all the course content right when they open the course. So those are two very popular ways to set up your homepage. Another one is assignments list if you just want it to go straight to all the assignments in the course. But I'm going to flip it back to the homepage that I've created and leave it there. And while we're on the homepage, I'll point out another helpful option in this top right-hand menu over here. This very top one, import existing content. If you're, used Canvas before and you want to pull content into a new course, or maybe you've been given access to another course from a colleague and you want to import content from their course into your own, you'll use this import existing content button. And then for select content type, you would use this option for copying a Canvas course. You then would use this drop-down menu, and it's going to give you a list of all the courses that you can import from. So any course that you have a colleague access, instructor access, TA access, you can select any of those courses. I would say most commonly we see people do the all content option. They're going to bring everything into their new course. Alternatively, you can do select specific content, and that lets you kind of pick and choose from the material in this importing course just to import into your new course. Another option here, adjusting the events and due dates. If you're importing from last year, it's going to bring all those due dates forward. You can either use shift due dates. Another one, just given, the different, if it's a different quarter, different year, there's different holidays, you may want to just remove the dates on the import and then go back in and adjust those due dates once all the contents come over. So again, that's how you would go about that import. Then you click import queue and it would run through the import process and all that content would be brought over. So I'm going to run through a few more of the administrative pieces of this course navigation menu. The next one being this people page. People is really just a roster of your course. So anyone who has access to the course, whether it be a student, TA, or other instructors, would be listed here. And you'll see, in this section designation, which sections they've been added to. Also, if you have multiple sections, you'll have a tab at the top called section groups. This is something we create automatically kind of in the back end. Any sections that your course has would be listed here. We'll list it by the TA's name, then the meeting place, and the meeting time. And the students in each section will be, in each of these groups. That'll be helpful if you're looking to use like a discussion where you have sections, divided by sections in your discussion. All right, so the next piece I'll point out is the settings. Most of the settings for your course, for your academic courses, are kind of determined based on the quarter. So those settings are kind of nothing you need to worry about, but there's a few settings that you may be interested in kind of adjusting or adding in this course settings area. Under course details, this image option, you can upload an image here, and back on the dashboard, you'll see that these courses all come kind of with a random color associated with the tile. If you upload an image here, it'll replace that tile color. So again, just another way you can kind of personalize the look and feel of your course, adding an image here that'll appear on dashboards. Another piece to note in this settings area is this navigations tab. This setting organizes this left-hand navigation menu in your course. So all of these kind of in that top list, these are all pieces of the course, tools in the course that are enabled by default. And if you scroll down, you'll see, a number of different pieces and tools that are not turned on by default. A lot of these are external tools, things that kind of link into Canvas, but are, a separate platform, something like Zoom, for instance. But these are things you can optionally turn on. Something like GauchoCast, this is UCSB's video platform. If I wanted to use GauchoCast or any of these, what I would do is click these three dots and then click Enable. It's going to bring that tool or that piece up to this top list of enabled tools. An important piece after that, I'll just want to click Save to save that change. And now I've got GauchoCast added to that list of tools in my course navigation menu over on the left-hand side. So I can click on that, go into GauchoCast, add video, what have you. And that's how you kind of adjust and move things around in that navigation. So hopefully that gives you a little orientation to both the global navigation and a little into the course navigation. I'm going to throw it to Samantha to get into adding content.
Yeah, so as Gus mentioned, the homepage is that first page that students hit each and every time they access your course site. But a lot of your course content, things like readings that you want to give to the students, assignments, can be organized in the course modules tab. So if I click on modules here from the course navigation menu, I'll see a course that's been partially built out here. Each of these sections here, so the general, week one, week two, is what Canvas calls a module. It's a bucket or a way to organize all of the different activities and resources underneath it. So in the general module here at the top, I have linked my syllabus for the course. I also have some pages of information on the policies and resources from the library. The week one module has nested under it all of the resources and activities associated with week one. That includes a page with information, and then an assignment I want students to complete and a quiz that I want them to take. So the modules allow you to organize your course content and determine how it's displayed to students. This weekly structure, so a module for each week, is one way to organize your course. It's by far the most popular here at UCSB, but there are other ways that folks do it. You could create modules for topics. So maybe for the first couple of weeks, you're going to be hitting one topic. You could create a module for that topic and organize the materials under it. And another way that we see folks do it is by resource type. So they'll create a module for class slides, and then they'll upload all of their class slides to that module. They'll have another module for maybe, handouts, and they'll upload all the handouts to that module. So it's really up to you as the instructor to decide, based on my course, kind of how is the best way to present this information to students so that it's organized. And just this weekly structure is kind of the most common way we see folks do it. You can create new modules by clicking plus module here in the top right-hand corner and giving the module a name. So I'm going to go ahead and create a week 5 module and click add module, and it'll add that module to the bottom of my list. I can also edit modules after the fact. So if I come to the week 4 module and I scroll to the right-hand side, you'll see this dot, dot, dot. This gives you a sub menu where you can edit and edit the text to the module. So instead of week 4, maybe I want to give the topic that we're going to be covering that week in it. I can also, adjust the module name and click save down at the bottom, and you'll see that updates the module name. To add things to a module, so say for example, if I come back to my week 5 module, and I have a PDF reading that I want to, give to students in this. I want to link that reading to this week 5 module. To do that, I'll click the plus sign to the right-hand side, and then I'll have the option to add my item. Using this down menu, I can see all of the different types of things I can add to a module. So I can add an assignment or a quiz or a discussion. I can send people to an external URL. In this case, it's a PDF on my computer, so I'm going to go ahead and choose the file option. What it'll do is it'll load all of the files I have associated with my course already. And if I want to add a new file from my computer, I'll click the Create Files button, choose File. It'll open up the picker on my computer and allow me to choose the file and click Add Item. This will add the file to my week 5 module. Say I want to create an assignment for week 5. I need students to complete a reading reflection. I would do those same steps. I click the plus sign to the right-hand side of the module. I choose the type of item I want to add. In this case, it's an assignment. It'll load all of my existing assignments, and I can click Create Assignment to create a brand new one. And I can give it a name and click Add Item, and it'll go ahead and create that assignment and add it to my week 5 module. I can also remove items from module. So remember in this submenu at the module level, I had this this dot, 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 and I could edit the module. Those same things are available at the individual item level. So instead of this test PDF, maybe I want to rename this reading. I can do that by clicking the dot, dot, dot to the right-hand side of the reading. Click Edit, and I can give it a different name. You'll see that updates the module name for the student. I can also use that submenu to remove items if I no longer need that item to be associated with the module. You can also reorder things within a module. So if I want this reading reflection to be on top of the reading, I can go ahead and drag and drop on by holding the 8 dots on the left. Drag and drop items within a module. I can move things around. Maybe we didn't get to this video in week 4 and I want to bring it to week 5. I can go ahead and drag it to my week 5 module. Again, using those 8 dots to the left. And I can actually move entire modules around if I want to reorder the way I'm structuring my class this year. I can bring things up to the top, bring things down to the bottom at the module level as well. So that's a little bit about how you can build out your course, add different activities and resources to modules or buckets to organize your course content. One thing I do want to draw your attention to is you'll see all of these kind of green check marks that run down the right-hand side. This indicates that items or modules are published, available to students. When you see items with gray circles, that means that the item is unpublished, not yet visible to students. So Canvas works in a hierarchical structure here. So as Gus mentioned when he was discussing the dashboard, you get the course and it's unpublished. It's not yet visible to students. Once you're ready for students to have access to the course, you publish the course. Then students have access to all of the published materials within the course. Once the course is published, you'll also want to make sure that the individual modules are published. So you can do that by clicking on the gray circle and click Publish Module in All Items or Publish the Module Only. You can see here all of these modules are published except for week 5. That means students have access to all of the materials here except this week 5 module and anything underneath it. So they don't have access to anything in the week 5 module. Once I've gone ahead and published the week 5 module, they'll have access to anything that's published underneath it. So in this case, they have access to the reading and the video link, but this reading reflection is not yet published. Once I'm ready for students to have access to it, I can go ahead and click on the publish icon and give them access to it. This is done, you can do this incrementally, kind of how I've done it here. But another way that you can do it is there's this publish all icon in the top of the modules page. If you want students to have access to everything, you can go ahead and just click publish all modules and items, and it'll go through and publish anything that's unpublished. The last thing I want to talk about here on the modules tab is this view as student button. When you're interacting in Canvas, you're interacting as it like through a student or through an instructor perspective, but it can be really helpful to see like what does your course look like from a student's perspective. I have all of these modules, but my week 5 module is unpublished. I just want to make sure students don't have access to those materials. I'm not ready for to see it yet. If I click this View as Student button in the top right-hand corner, you can view your course from a student's perspective. You'll see here my course navigation kind of started to hide all of those items that aren't visible to students. And if I scroll down, that week 5 module is hidden because it's unpublished. So this View as Student is a really nice way for you just to check to make sure that your course is working as you would expect it to. Students have access to the things you want them to and don't have access to the things that you don't want them to. When you're ready to return back to your instructor point of view, in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a Leave Student View button, which allows you to return back to your instructor view. So that's the Modules tab here. The next thing I want to talk about is a little bit more detail about Canvas assignments and setting up those. So you saw me create this week 5 reading reflection, and I kind of just created the shell. The next step I want to do is go ahead and add in the assignment settings. I want to set how many points it's out of. I want to set a due date, provide the instructions. All of that is done on the assignment itself. So I'll go ahead and I'll click that reading reflection assignment that I created. And there's an edit button in the top right-hand corner that allows me to edit the assignment details. Here I can add in the assignment name, and I have this big text box where I can add in any of my instructions that I want. I also have access to Canvas's rich content editor here, so I can type in text and format that text, bold it, change colors. But I can also hyperlink to external URLs. I can also add images, or I can use this insert function to upload a document. Maybe I have instructions as a PDF on my computer and I want to add them to my assignment. I can use this upload document function to do so. As I scroll down, I'll see some of the assignment settings available to me. The points is how many points you want to grade this out of. The assignment group is the category. Gus will talk about this in a bit more detail when we talk about setting up the gradebook, but it's kind of how you want to nest the gradebook, what category this assignment should be nested under. Display grade as is how you want to enter grades for students and how you want those grades to be displayed. So here it's set to points. So I would be grading students, like 9 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10. But you also have other options. You can enter and display grades as percentages, so on a 1 to 100 scale, as complete, incomplete, so full credit, no credit. And then the letter grade option, we're starting to see folks use a little bit more. You can define what does an A mean? What does a B minus mean? And grade students using those letter grade options. One important settings here is the submission type setting. This allows you to choose if students will be submitting this on assignment on Canvas and how it's being submitted. No submission and on paper simply creates the column in the gradebook. But students won't be submitting it on Canvas. It's great for things like oral participation, in-class assessments like an in-class midterm. Online means that the student is submitting it on Canvas. Once I choose that option, I can choose how I want students to submit it. Text entry means typing the answer directly into Canvas. It's great for like short paragraphs or just a handful of sentences. But by far the most common we see folks use is this file uploads option where students are uploading, a PDF, a doc file from their computer. The last setting I want to talk about is this assign access setting. This allows you to set the assignment's due date. This due date is important because it's what automatically populates on students' calendar, on their to-do lists, on their dashboard. The available from time is the date that the assignment opens, and then the until time is the date at which the assignment closes. So students can submit uh, after the due date, and it'll be marked as late in Canvas. They can upload all the way up until the until date. So if you don't want to accept late work in your course, you want to make sure that you set the due date and the until date to match one another so students aren't able to upload afterwards. Once you have all your settings set, you can go ahead and click Save. It will summarize those settings for you on the assignment details page. And if you need to make any changes, you can click Edit and modify the settings accordingly. Discussions and quizzes work very similar in Canvas. They just have slightly different settings available. For example, in discussions, you can require students to make an initial post before they see the posts of their peers. For quizzes, you can do things like set a time limit, determine how many attempts a student has. We won't go into those into great detail in today's training, but just do know that the setup is pretty similar for both those different activity options as well. So with that, now that we have kind of our modules set up and some information about the assignment details, I'm going to pass it back to Gus, who will talk about grading in the Canvas gradebook.
All right. So to get into grading, I'm going to go back to our assignments tab in our course navigation. And this is going to list all of my various assignments, anything that's going to get a grade in my Canvas course site. So there's kind of three main assignment types, just like Samantha mentioned. There's an assignment where students are, typically uploading a file as their submission. We call that just an assignment. We have a discussion where there's students kind of see one another's reply in kind of a forum-like interface. And then there's quizzes, which are usually multiple choice. There's various other question types, including essay. Those are the three main, in-house Canvas assignment types. When you're grading any of those three, you're going to be using what's called Speed Grader within Canvas. And I'm going to show you an example of an assignment where students are, say, uploading a file or writing into Canvas, their response to an assignment or a prompt, if you will. So we'll look at this week 1 reading response as our example. I'll click on the assignment. And then in the top right, I'll click on Speed Grader. This is going to bring me into the Speed Grader interface. And it'll look like this. So on the top left, it's got the title of the assignment that I'm looking at. If I work my way over to the right, in the very top right, I've got the student name for the submission I'm looking at. I can use this drop-down menu to see the full list of all the students in the course. Another helpful thing, if I'm, a TA and I want to just sort by the students in my section, I can use this pop-out menu on the left side. And if I was Katie, I could just check that box and just view the students in Katie's section. On this right-hand panel, I've got some other information when the submission was submitted. Depending on the submission type, it'll generate a word count. I can also, click this file. I could download it if I wanted to my computer. And then I've got a box to enter the grade. So depending on what settings I've set up for the assignment and how many points I've decided to grade it out of, I would enter the grade I've assessed here. And then below that, comments for this attempt. This box, I can add any feedback comments I want to give. I can do this, multiple times as I go through the assignment, add multiple comments here. Another, some not as commonly used options, I can add a video or audio recording of feedback. I could also attach a file, maybe if I mark up the student submission, in Word or something, and then I want to upload it back to Canvas, I could do that. And then in the center, this is the student submission. And I also have some annotation tools built into Canvas. So in this kind of ribbon at the top of the submission, I've got some various tools I can mark up the student submission and add comments to, add feedback like this. And all of these markups are visible on the student side when they go to view their submission once you marked it up and given a grade. So helpful ways for you to, assess the student, give feedback, and give some actionable kind of feedback for students to view on their submission. So this is probably the most common way we see kind of grades and feedback being given via an assignment like this. You can also give, grades for discussions if you have a graded discussion. And then for quizzes, most quizzes are automatically graded, unless you're using an essay question, in which case you would use SpeedGrader to grade those essay questions manually. I'm going to go back to our assignments area. And now I'm going to get into kind of constructing our gradebook, essentially taking what I want from my syllabus as my grading scheme and applying it into Canvas. So you'll notice I kind of have some different groupings of assignments here. So I've got one for reading or writing assignments, one for participation and attendance, weekly quizzes, and midterm. So these are all what are called assignment groups in Canvas. And then within them, I have separate assignments under these categories or groups. So, I've got maybe most of my kind of grading scheme and assignments built out, but maybe I need one for the final. And to make an assignment group for the final, I'll click this plus group button, and that'll give me the option to create a new group. So I'll call it final, click save, and it's going to add it to the bottom of this list. So in this case, I've created the assignment group, but as noted here, I don't have any assignments in this group. So I have nowhere to actually put a grade in this category. So to add an assignment, I'll just click this plus sign to the right side of this assignment group. And I'll just call it final exam. It's going to be worth 100 points. I'm not going to do all the settings, just going to create the shell right now, save and publish. And now I've got that in my assignment group. So theoretically, let's say, I've got all my assignments, all my assignment groups. A common thing, if you're not using just a points-based gradebook, if you're using a points-based gradebook, you will just want to be cognizant of how many points you make each assignment out of, and that will go towards your kind of total points for the course and determine the grade that students get. If you're interested in using weights, so I've got these various assignment groups, and maybe I want to assign specific weights to these various groups. I want to make the final, say, 40% of their grade. To do that, I'm going to go to the top of this page and click on these three dots in the top right. And then this second option down, assignment groups weight. I'm going to click that, and I'll get this pop-up menu. And I'm going to check this box, which is essentially saying I'm going to opt into using weights to determine the final grade for these assignment groups and for the course total. So I've got, each of those assignment groups and weights for all of them. And then for the final that I just created, I'm going to make it worth 40. And I got that running total. So I've allocated 100% of the course across these different assignment groups. So I'll click save. And then now next to each of these assignment groups on the right side, I'm going to see that percentage that I've allocated for the course total. So one other piece that's common in grading schemes is dropping the lowest. So maybe this participation in attendance, these are discussions, and maybe I want to allow students to miss one of these. I don't want it to count against their grade. I can set that setting if I go to the very right of the assignment group and click on these three dots. I'll click on edit, and then number of scores to ignore for each student. This lowest scores, I want to ignore the one lowest score for each student. So I'll click save. And then, if a student misses one of these and gets a 0, it's going to be excused for them and not count against them towards their overall grade. So maybe you have one drop the lowest. Some people use, multiple depending on your grading scheme. So this is kind of how you build the gradebook, build your assignments, kind of construct that grouping, assign weights. But I'm now going to go to what we call the grades area of the course, which is essentially a spreadsheet view of your actual gradebook, where you see student names, columns for each assignment, and then the grades that have been entered. So on the left-hand side, we'll see the list of student names. Each subsequent column is going to be a different assignment in the course. And I'll scroll over to the right. And then you'll also notice I've got columns for each of those assignment groups. So the midterm has an assignment or a column, weekly quizzes, participation attendance, writing assignments, all of those have their own column with their total for that specific assignment group. And then at the very end, I've got the total. This is going to be the percentage that's computed based on those assignment groups and those percentages that I've entered in any of the grades that they've received. It'll calculate those and spit out those totals. So we'll look at a few kind of example pieces in this kind of spreadsheet view. You'll notice in a couple examples of this paper icon dotted throughout these different assignments, that just indicates that the student has submitted this assignment, but it hasn't been given a grade yet. If I want to know maybe what these different shades are, these shades that are allocated across the gradebook are automatic. I can click on this gear icon and go to view options. And this status color is going to show me what those kind of shades in the gradebook all pertain to. So late, missing, resubmitted, meaning students submitted once and then submitted again. If it's dropped or excused, not counting towards their grade. So if you're ever seeing and wondering what those kind of different highlights are in your gradebook, this will quick way to reference what those are. I'll also point out this apply filters option. This is really helpful, especially once again, if you're a TA in your grading and you want to look at just your section, you can click section. I can click Katie section. And now I'm filtering just by Katie section, and only the students in Katie section are going to show up here. So a helpful way to kind of filter down and just see the students you want to see. I can also sort by assignment name. So if there's a particular assignment I want to see, I can filter just to that. So just ways to kind of navigate and look at this spreadsheet view of the gradebook. So with that, hopefully it gives you a little introduction into the gradebook and grading. Next, I'm going to throw it to Samantha and we'll get into communication.
Yeah, so the last piece we wanted to touch base on is how you can use Canvas to communicate with your students. Canvas has two different ways to do so, the course announcements and the Canvas inbox. So we'll talk through both of those, talk about kind of why you might use one over another. The first one is Canvas announcements. These are great for whole class communication or section-specific information when you want to send kind of the same information, blast it across to all the students in the course or all the students in a specific section. By default, students receive Canvas announcements to their UCSB email address, so it sends them it as an email. And then there are a few different places they can access it in Canvas. They can access it from the course announcements tab on the left-hand side. And then by default, it also shows up, the most recent ones show up on your home screen. So if I click on the announcements tab, it'll show me all of the announcements I've sent in the course. And you can send a new announcement by clicking add announcement in the top right-hand corner. The topic title is the subject, so it would be like the subject of the email. And then the content is everything that you want to communicate out, kind of the body of the message. You do have access to Canvas's rich content tools here, so you can bold text, etc. If you scroll down, by default, Canvas announcements go to all sections in the course. So it'll go to all users, all students, all TAs, etc. But you can post it to specific sections. Maybe I'm a TA and I just want to send it to the students in my section. I can choose my section or sections from the dropdown. And it'll go to those students, the instructor, and all TAs in the course also get CC'd on it. The other option that we are seeing folks use more often as well is the ability to set an available from date and time. This allows you to schedule send your messages, to schedule them to go out at a later date and time. So if you can type out your message and click publish, and it would go out to students immediately, they would get a copy of it in their email immediately, they'd be able to see it on Canvas immediately. But sometimes folks might want to type it out. You're typing it, Sunday afternoon, and you really want it to go out Monday morning. You want it to be available to students then. You can type out your message and then you can set an available from date and time. And that's the date and time that it'll be available to students in Canvas, and it's when the emails will be sent out to. So that's one of the nice benefits of announcements is that you can use schedule send. But in general, announcements are a really great way to send whole class communication or section specific information. The second way to send communication is via the inbox. That's from your blue global navigation menu in the leftmost side. The inbox is a really nice way to send kind of individual messages to students or small groups of students. You can choose, a handful of students to send it to. You can also use it to send whole class notifications and section specific information as well. If you click on the inbox, you'll see any messages that you've been sent here. That message will appear on the left and you can reply. You can also use some filters here at the top to select and look at just courses, messages from a specific course. You can look at just, your inbox or any sent messages, or you can use this search feature to look for a specific user. Maybe you want to know kind of what are all the messages I've received from a specific student. You can go ahead and use this address book feature to narrow in and on how to a specific student or a specific course. Inbox messages are also sent to UCSB email addresses. So if you send a student an inbox message through Canvas, they'll receive it to their UCSB email by default, and they can also access it in Canvas directly. What this means is you might have students who start to reach out to you using the Canvas inbox. You'll see that message in Canvas, and you'll also get a copy of it to your email. You can reply in either place. You can choose to reply to the email. You could choose to log into Canvas and reply there. Either way, it's going to both places for students as well. To send a new message in the Canvas inbox, you'll click Compose in the top right-hand corner. Choose the course that you want to send it to, and then you can use this address book feature to choose specific users or kind of groups of users. So you can narrow down to specific students, choosing all students or choosing a specific student. You can also type in students' names and it'll start to filter the message based on the address book based on that. So maybe here, for example, I want to send a message to Anne and Joe. They both came to office hours, had a question I wanted to, give some more information on. I can select both users here, type in a subject and a message, and click send. The one setting I want to draw your attention to here with the inbox is this send an individual message to each recipient. So by default, inbox announcements are going to be sent as a CC. So in this case, Anne and Joe are going to be able to see that one another got the message. They can respond back to the group at large. And it's kind of like a collaborative thread here. If I'm sending something sensitive in nature, I don't want Anne to know Joe got this message. I don't want Anne to be able to respond back to Joe. I can choose the option to send it as an individual message to each recipient. This is now more like a BCC. Anne and Joe aren't going to be able to see who got this message. They're not going to be able to reply back to everyone. It's really just like an individual message to Anne and between Anne and me and between Joe and me. So just depending on the context of your message, your email, deciding kind of if you want to send it individually or if you want it to be more collaboratively, you can deselect that option. So those are the two different ways to communicate in Canvas. The last thing that we wanted to talk about today was how you can get additional help at UCSB Canvas moving forward. So there is this help menu in the global navigation menu, and it pops out a variety of different kind of help options. The first one is UCSB Canvas support. So that's going to reach the UCSB Canvas team. You can use this option to get a hold of us, to ask us any questions that you have. If you want to meet one-on-one for your course, that option is a great one. We can coordinate to meet with you one-on-one. But Canvas, we also have Canvas provided support from Canvas itself. So you can use this open a ticket with Canvas vendor support. You can also chat with them or give them a call. These are 24/7 support available to you, available to students, 24/7. So if I'm a student having issues logging in, or having an issue, submitting something, I can reach out to Canvas at 11 p.m. and have them help me get access, to the assignment, instructions, etc. It's a really nice thing here. We also have, links here to search the Canvas guides, UCSB specific guides here as well, if you're looking for more written instruction. So just this help menu provides you a wide range of options to get additional help on Canvas moving forward. But to reach the UCSB Canvas team, just choose UCSB Canvas support at the top. You'll reach us and we can help you, answer any questions you have. Really great for Canvas UCSB specific questions on Canvas, things like enrollment, login issues, student access, etc. Us at the UCSB team are going to be the best equipped to handle those sorts of questions. So with that, we want to thank you for watching today's video, and please do reach out to us at UCSB Canvas support if you have any questions. Thank you.